Peace and Black Power family. Welcome to another Sarnetta TV House of Consciousness production. Sarnetta Studio, Black News 102, and the House of Consciousness. I stand here with a powerful soldier. He go by the name of Born Mastermind Allah. This is the brother's second time here. That people loved him the first time, and I definitely love the brother. He's coming in. He's bringing this information. He's out there teaching the youth, the babies, family. First, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. What made you choose such a powerful and enlightened topic, brother? I hope you can stand up to it, brother.
Most definitely. It's such a powerful topic. For one, these are sciences that's not being taught in school. So our babies are in school being taught the same old things that we were taught, that our parents and grandparents was taught, but they're not getting the full story. They're not getting full truth. So to bring this science to the people, to let them know the time that we are in and how necessary it is to know what's actually going on out there and how we as a people are completely in tune with nature, how nature is on our side and in favor of us. It comes from us and we are one with it. So when we walking around thinking that walking with a lack mentality or a poverty mentality or mentality that we are oppressed people, we are only oppressed because we give people the stick to beat us down with. But in reality, this whole universe not only is us, comes from us, in tune with us, but is in our favor. And we're going to show and prove some of those things today.
Let's go right in.
All right. So like the brother said, the name of this particular presentation is Sirius, the Golden Age and the Rise of the Black Gods. First, we have to go into something that's known as precession of the equinoxes. Now, as you do a little research, you'll know that our ancestors, they knew clearly of what's titled precession of the equinoxes today. Just to go into it, equinox precession is the observable phenomenon that every year on the morning of the spring equinox, which is March 21st, one of 2 days in the year that the day and night are of equal duration, the other day being September 21st, the sun appears to rise at a slightly different place relative to the background stars than it did the year before. So as our ancestors would look up at the sky, at the cosmos, they would see that the sky appeared to change. It would appear that stars were moving. Now, it takes between 24,000 to 26,000 years, approximately 25,000 years, for the sun to make a complete cycle through the 12 constellations known as the zodiac, approximately a little over 2.1 thousand years for each constellation. So these are what would be called the fixed stars. Fixed stars. So our ancestors would look up and they would see that the sun would be in a different place every year. And it would move slightly, but we were very observable. We were a very observational people. So we can tell it appeared that the stars were moving. But it wasn't the stars that were moving because these was fixed stars, or what's called fixed stars. So as our sun moves through each one of these constellations, it takes about 2.1 thousand years to make it through a complete constellation, and approximately 25,000 years to make it a complete cycle through all 12 of the constellations. Now, the Western lunisolar model holds that the axis of the Earth is wobbling, slowly causing the backward motion precession through the constellation of the zodiac. So our planet is on a 23.5 degree tilt. Now, Western science, and some people still to this day, suggest that the reason why we see our sun moving through these particular constellations is because of the Earth's wobble, because of the 23.5 degree tilt. However, and you can see in school, they still teach this model. They teach that the sun is in the center and our planets just rotate around the sun as such. I once heard a Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad video where he was teaching how they taught us that the planets moved around the sun. And then once we realized that the sun was moving also, then he said, what is the sun rotating around? We'll go into that a little bit later. Now, our ancestors held a different view. They held the idea that the whole entire solar system was moving, as the binary model holds that Earth is not wobbling significantly, but instead that precession is caused by the entire solar system moving in a curved line through space. So that would be our sun moving through the universe and dragging the planets along with it. Not a stationary sun, but the whole entire solar system moving. And what is that solar system moving around? There is a second sun or star system that our sun is orbiting, that our whole solar system is orbiting. Our solar system is moving this way, and this new star, or not new star, but second sun is moving that way. So it's actually orbiting each other at a center point of gravitation. And the name of that star system is Sirius, the Sirius star system, consisting of Sirius A. Sirius A is 10 times larger than our sun, twice as massive, and registers 20 times as much luminance. It is the greatest, most brilliant star in our hemisphere, and it is known as a blue-white star. It is 8.7 light years from Earth and moving on a direct course toward our solar system. It is located in the jaws of the Great Dog, or Canis Major constellation. Hence, it is known as the Dog Star. It is visible in the northern hemisphere of the evening sky from November to April. It can be located by following a direct line through the belt of Orion toward the horizon. And we'll go into how our ancestors knew about this other star system, even when there was no detectable technology that was left behind to know how our ancestors knew about this. But we had vast knowledge and information of the cosmos, as you'll see, from Kemet to the Dogon tribe. We've known about precession of the equinoxes. We've known about this new star system that they call Sirius, simply from our observation. Also consisting of what's called the binary star system. Some might even say trinary. You have Sirius A and you also have Sirius B. It is called a white dwarf star. Some of our ancestors refer to it as a black dwarf star, with the equivalent mass of our sun packed into a globe 4 times the size of our Earth. It travels on an elliptical orbit around Sirius A, which it completes in a 50-year cycle, which is actually about 49.9 years. Although it was only discovered by the scientific community, so-called scientific community, a mere 50 years ago, the Dogon tribes knew of Sirius B, which they described as a heavy, small, powerful star as early as 5,000 years ago. So as you see, our ancestors knew of these things. So it's important that we get acquainted with our cosmos. We get acquainted with our universe, because it is us and we are it. Also, Sirius C. Although the scientific community has not confirmed the existence of Sirius C, the Dogon knew it by the name of Imyatolo, and they described it as revolving around Sirius A. So Western science, European science, has not yet been able to see Sirius C. But our ancestors spoke of Sirius C. They knew it was out there. Just like they knew Sirius A and B was out there, Sirius B, even though it couldn't be detected by the physical eye, they knew it was out there thousands of years ago. These people were known to have a vast astronomical knowledge, even though there was no physical evidence of how they knew these things. There was no highly advanced technology to show how they were able to know of these different stars and these different constellations that were out there, but they knew. There's our people. That's Marcel Griot and Germain Dieterlen. From 1931 to 1956, the French anthropologists Marcel Griot and Germain Dieterlen studied the Dogon. This included field missions ranging from several days to 2 months. In 1931, 1935, 1937, and 1938, and then annually from 1946 until 1956. In late 1946, Griot spent a consecutive 33 days in conversations with the Dogon wise men, Oga Tamale. So they studied with the Dogon tribe, and they end up writing several books. We'll go to a few of them. They studied our ancestors and knew and learned from them the vast knowledge that our people had of the cosmos, even though they appeared to be a primitive people. Conversations with the Ogamatali, an introduction to the Dogon religious ideas. And of course, when you package it in a Western viewpoint, they call it religious. But our people use stories and mythologies and things of that nature to describe science, so it will be easy to pass down from generation to generation. This would not be religion in the way that we know religion to be today. They reported that the Dogon believed that the brightest star in the sky, Sirius, or CG Tolo, or the star of the Sugui, has 2 companion stars, Potolo, the Digiterius star, and Imya Yatolo, the female Surgum star, respectively the first and second companions of Sirius A. They also claim that the Dogon appeared to know of the rings around Saturn and the moons of Jupiter. And all of this is without the technology that they use today to be able to see these things. They knew these things years before that technology was available, at least in a way that we know of it today. Another book, The Sirius Mystery, New Scientific Evidence of Alien Contact 5,000 Years Ago by Robert Temple. Now here we go again. Anytime we show how brilliant we are, anytime we show the vast knowledge and information that we contain as a people, they immediately try to say we could not have been that brilliant to have built those pyramids. That's right. We could not have been that brilliant to know of our galaxy, to know of our cosmos, to know of our universe and the extraordinary ways that we knew them. So it must have been an alien from outer space to come and either build the pyramids for us or deliver the knowledge and information that we use to do it. And that's what they're claiming here with the Dogon tribe. They're saying that the Dogon people themselves taught this, but if we know how Europeans work and how white supremacy works, then we won't trust what they say our people taught. But they do admit the information that we held and information that we contain. So in 1976, Robert K.G. Temple wrote a book arguing that the Dogon system reveals precise knowledge of cosmological facts only known by the development of modern astronomy, since they appear to know from Griot and Dieterlen's account that Sirius was a part of a binary star system, whose second star, Sirius B, a white dwarf star, was, however, completely invisible to the human eye, just as Digitaria is the smallest grain known to the Dogon, and it took 50 years to complete its orbit. The existence of Sirius B had only been inferred to exist through mathematical calculations undertaken by Frederick Bessel in 1844. So again, they're mystified to how we were able to contain this information and this knowledge without their so-called technology. Let's go into the Dogon teachings. They call Sirius A Sigitolo. Sirius B, which they refer to as Potolo, Sirius B, Potolo is the first of all stars. It was born after the Po, or galactic core, had finished its task. They called Po, or referred to the supermassive black hole at the galactic core as Po. Ama is described as the intelligent consciousness behind all of creation. Yes, sir. Ama is described as the intelligent consciousness behind all creation and the awareness within all beings. Ama is he who rests upon nothing. Ama began spinning around, forming the Po seed. So we're going to go into this real quick. I was teaching and have been teaching that the black woman is the physical embodiment, the physical manifestation of a super massive black hole. And brothers went crazy. Brothers went crazy. Now, modern science teaches us that at the core, at the galactic center of every known galaxy, there is a super massive black hole. And that the entire galaxy is orbiting the center of that super massive black hole. Modern science also teaches us that inside every supermassive black hole, there is a new universe that is forming, or a universe that is forming. Modern science also teaches that this very universe that we live in is inside of a supermassive black hole. And they teach that that supermassive black hole began to spin with what's known as a torque. What's known as torque. So when our ancestors, the Dogon tribe, referred to Ama, they're speaking of the black man or mind. That's that black cosmic intelligence, that cosmic energy, dark energy, that is the mind of the black man that spins. And that pole, which is that supermassive black hole, is the black woman, or womb of man, womb of mind. The supermassive black hole, which universes are born with inside. And they called Ama seed, or egg, which is the God particle, or the particle that forms universes. So at the galactic center of every known galaxy, there's a supermassive black hole. And within inside that supermassive black hole, there is a universe forming. That universe forms from a particle, which is actually the seed of the black man. So when Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad was talking about the sun actually moving and that the solar system moved itself, he says it moved around the mind of the black man. We can't get caught up in our physical bodies because we are actually that supreme intelligent force that birthed the cosmos, and all cosmos is now rotating around that supreme force, the intelligence, the consciousness of the black man, which is that torque, and that supermassive black hole, which is the black woman that all universes are born inside of. And Sirius C, which they refer to as Emyatolo. Now, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught that our ancestors, great black scientists, wrote history 25,000 years in advance. And we just discussed earlier how it takes approximately 25,000 years for our solar system to orbit the Sirius star system. Now, just a side note, about 80% of all the stars in our galaxy is a binary star system. So this is not far-fetched that we are actually orbiting and rotating around another star system. And it takes approximately 25,000 years to make this complete revolution around one another. Our ancestors calculated the orbit around Sirius using the zodiac. So when we talk about these 12 constellations that's known as the zodiac, as we were moving, taking approximately 2.1 thousand years or a little better to make it through each constellation, our ancestors were able to calculate how long it took to get through each constellation to make one complete revolution, one complete circle. Now, let me just go back. These stars, these constellations that are out there that's known as the zodiac, they give off energy. They give off radio waves. I did another video one time where I was talking about the organ systems. And I was talking about how different planets, different star systems affect the different organs in our body. And brothers went crazy again. They said, oh man, we don't believe in astrology. We don't deal with this. We don't deal with that. Well, astrology, again, is a Greek term, and it's a watered down version of what our ancestors always taught. So when you look at astrology, you look at the word astro, which just means stars, and the word ology, which is the study of. We've always studied the stars. Now let's study if these stars actually have effect on us physically, biologically, emotionally. There's a science out there called radio astronomy, which is a subfield of astronomy that studies celestial objects at radio frequencies. Now, radio is the radiation, wireless transmission. Radio waves can carry information, such as sound, by systematically changing, modulating some property of the radiated waves, such as their amplitude, frequency, phase, or pulse width. When radio waves strike an electrical conductor, the oscillating fields induce an alternating current in the conductor. The information in the waves can be extracted and transformed back into its original form. So to say that we do not receive information from the stars, information from the cosmos, would not be correct. It would not be mathematically correct, according to modern science or according to our ancestors. So as we're moving through each one of these constellations, we are receiving radio waves. Those radio waves contain information. So when we talk about how the different cosmos or the different constellations affect attitude, affect personality, affect different parts of our organism, it's all pure science. It's all pure biology. So recently, we have just moved through or moving through the age of Pisces. Different calculations are different. Some say we just entered the age of Aquarius. Some say we're right on the verge of entering the age of Aquarius. But either way, we're right about here. So as we move through the age of Pisces, we are moving into the age of Aquarius.
Can I say something real quick?
Go ahead, my brother.
What you are doing right now, this is powerful because you just set off a light bulb in my head. Okay. When we say the black man has always been here, yes, some people don't know how to really break that down and go into that. Right. We have always been here, and with the information that you're showing through the stars, through the moon, our people feel these frequencies from the moon. The woman, yes, they have their moon cycle. They feel that, and the moon brings these type of energies. Right. The stars brings off these type of energies. We was always here, just not in this form, not in this physical body. Wow. We have evolved into this body. So when we say everything that exists outside of you also exists inside of you. So we have always been here. And when the white man say, you know what? Y'all didn't build the pyramids. It was some aliens from outer space. Right. Sometime we need to say, you know what? You're right. Because we are the goddamn aliens from outer space, goddammit. Yes. We are the true aliens. Everything that exists outside of you. Remind you now, when I say alien, I'm not talking about no goddamn green creatures and all this old spooky stuff that you see on the planet. I mean, that you see in the movies. You see, what I'm saying is we are the ones that come from the cosmos.
Yes.
We are made up of the stars, of the elements of the universe.
Absolutely.
So as within, so without. As above, so below. So it all exists with us and it comes from, so we have always been here, just not in this shape and form that you see us in today.
Right.
That's what I want to say.
Yes, sir. And you are 100% right and exact. Because not only have we always been here, not in this form, but we change form constantly. Even from a sperm to a fetus. From a fetus to a newborn baby, an infant to a toddler to an adolescent to a teenager, a young man, a grown man, an old man. So we always change forms. And that's when people get so caught up in this body, they don't understand that we come in many different forms and we constantly change forms, but we always been here and will always be here. Now, I know this is just a model. This is just a model or a picture, but the blackness, we are that blackness that actually produce all of these stars, all of these cosmos, these planets. We are that black energy that produces, and everything else is just an extension of that original blackness, including the physical bodies that we carry today. And this is what it is. This is what it is. If you look at the universe, right? If you look at the universe as a big brain, right? We are in these physical bodies, but we all contain the same brain. We all contain the same mind. We all contain the same components. We are one and the same. It's only the different forms that we come in. So as we talk about the different ages, as you can see, from the age of Pisces to Aries, now, when we talk about precession of the equinoxes, because it appears to be traveling backwards through the constellations, we won't go in a forward motion that you would normally calculate the cosmos from Pisces to Aries to Taurus to Gemini. It would go from the age of Pisces to then the age of Aquarius to the age of Capricorn, Sagittarius, that way. And those astrological ages are broken down into 4 ages. You have the golden age. The golden age is when our sun and the Sirius star system would be closest together. The golden age. Then you have the silver, the bronze, and the iron age, or the dark age. And this iron age or dark age we just left. Now in this iron age and dark age, we are the furthest from the Sirius constellation. So if we're the furthest from another sun or another star system, all of the electromagnetic energy, all of the radiation that we would receive by being in the golden age or even the age a little bit closer, we are far away from. So when we talk about how our ancestors spoke of a dark age that will be coming, it's in many of their what you want to call mythologies, but it's not a mythology. It's a breakdown of science, maybe told in stories. They talked about one day a dark age would come and the fall of man would come, and they showed us through their works that they dreaded this age. And that's because if we understand the importance, particularly for original people, the importance of sunlight and solar radiation, the further we are from what could be called our sister sun, we know that we have a lot less radiation, a lot less electromagnetic frequency. Thus, consciousness would dwindle. Here, they call it the Yuga cycle. And we are about here. This is what the 2012 phenomenon was about. Leaving the Iron Age or the Dark Age as we move into the Bronze Age. So right about there, we begin to ascend. And as you see, it's moving in a sine wave, because that's how our solar system actually orbits. That's how our sun actually travels, in a sine wave. That's how most of life moves, in a sine wave or a spiral. So here's what would be called the age of Pisces. And of course, the calculations are different, but it's all approximately 24 to 26,000 years to make a complete cycle. And it changes. So it's difficult to get a complete exact number. So we deal with an approximation. So in the age of Pisces, which is the age that we just left or are leaving now, you see we are the furthest from the Sirius star system. This is the Iron Age or the Dark Age. The age of Pisces, moving away from the light. So when you see one of the ancient symbols, if Christianity be considered ancient, one of the ancient symbols of Christianity was the fish. When he talked about Jesus feeding the multitude with 2 fish, they were only signifying the age of Pisces. And in the age of Pisces, what are they waiting for? They're waiting for the sun to return. Question is, what sun are they waiting for? They're waiting for the Son of Man. So here we are again. I remember it was a big thing, December 21st, 2012, everybody was waiting for it. Like they was going to see a big dramatic change. Maybe some people did see changes. But just like people are waiting for spring, March 21st, it may snow that day. In fact, I think it did snow on the first day of spring of this year.
That's right.
So that don't mean you're going to see dramatic changes at once. It's a gradual process. But people were waiting for December 21st, 2012, waiting for this huge change. Now, it was a huge change because we had just peaked from the underworld and moving to ascension right about there as we move into the age of Aquarius. And that's how when you hear a lot of those old songs from the 60s where they talk about the dawning of the age of Aquarius, and they talk about how consciousness would raise, and they talked about how great the world would then become. They were only talking about as we moved out of the dark ages, we would then begin to receive more solar or star radiation that will then assist in raising the consciousness of the people. So now we just made a turn. So our solar system is now heading toward the Sirius star system. They're actually heading toward each other, toward the golden age. And this golden age is when they will be closest to one another. Let's hear a little bit of Greek mythology and see what they have to say about it. In Greek myth, Astrea is the virgin goddess of justice and righteous indignation who mingled among men in the golden age, which was a time of fairness, prosperity, and no wars. Once this golden age passed, the generation that followed was led by greed and was a generation where individuals chose to ignore the duty of justice and fairness. Still, Astrea walked among men, imploring them to be kinder to one another and to continue the old ways, but it was to no avail. It is stated that Astrea fled the earth to the heavens during the harsh lawlessness of the Bronze Age, and she could not stand the injustice and cruelty. Opting to reside in the heavens as the constellation of Virgo, Astrea refuses to show her face in the prayers of mankind, but will send Hermes, the messenger, with word regarding legal matters and what choices should be made in the path of righteousness. Rightful indignation. Now, what makes this important is we know where the Greek received their information. We know who educated and civilized the Greek people. It was our people. So, as they talk about Astrea, the virgin goddess of justice dwelling in the golden age, well, if you look here, this is the golden age. This is the same as this here. So, as you go over here, the golden age is where? It would be here. So, there you have Virgo, which is the virgin, and there you have Libra, which is represented by the scales of justice. So here you have the virgin goddess of justice. So a lot of this mythology, particularly when we study Kemet, we study our ancient ancestors, it was not just stories for the sake of stories, but it was true science that was packaged in the form of mythology or stories. And even if you look at the Greeks, who were educated and civilized by original people, our people, we know where they got this information from. So when they talk about Astrea, the virgin goddess of justice, they're only talking about the golden age, which is when we would then move into the age of Virgo and Libra. There's also some information that taught that Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio was once one sign. Okay? So keep that in mind as we're talking about the golden age as we move through each one of these astronomical ages. The Iron Age or the Dark Age, we talk about less solar radiation, fall of man and the rule of the devil. Now, when the messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that the devil was predicted thousands of years in advance, 25,000 years in advance to be precise, because he taught that our ancestors, our great black scientists wrote history in advance 25,000 years. They knew that there would be a time when the original man, the black man, would fall. He would fall from grace. Now, if you know, being a melanin dominant people, we are a solar people. So if we move this far away from the natural solar and star radiation that we were accustomed to in these different ages, naturally we would then have a fall. You would have a loss of consciousness, because thoughts itself is nothing but electrical impulses in the brain. So we're talking about electricity. So naturally we could predict that those that would rule in a time of darkness, in a dark age, in the Iron Age, would be an anti-solar people. Or people who's more compatible to fungus that hides from the sunlight. You couldn't have a people that is allergic to the sun, that gets skin cancer or melanoma from the sun in an age, in a golden age, when we're this close to our so-called sister star with this amount of solar and star radiation. It wouldn't happen. Now, just to show you this model here, as opposed to the other model I showed you, most research and scientists tell us that the golden age will actually be the longest period, as you see in this particular model. So if we show the 4 ages and compare them to the 4 seasons, the golden age will be summer, the silver age, spring, Bronze Age, autumn or fall. The Iron or Dark Age would be winter. Now we know what happened, particularly in New York and in the Northeast, where we are, what happens during the winter months, during the autumn months. And if we know chlorophyll to be the cousin of melanin, we understand that during the autumn months, the leaves begin to what? Lose its color. As it begins to lose its color, as we are at a further distance from the what? Sun, they begin to lose its color, its melanin, and fall, and eventually die. Now, as we then get closer to the sun, you see life begin to happen again.
Check it out.
Go ahead, brother.
Let me see if I could correct you on one thing.
Okay.
I wouldn't say die. I just say transform.
Yes, sir.
Because, you know, the trees are energy.
Yes.
Energy can't die. So, you know, we just change forms. Yes. And that's what the tree is going through right now. Just a little transformation. Right. So I like this presentation that you're putting up, because when you look at that, you can bring that right back to us too, because we loses our color. We get pale when that sun is no longer coming through. Because you know that right there, the sun is a charger for our melanin. Right. You see what I'm saying? So if we don't get charged up, we begin to get just like the damn tree and start, you know, the leaves don't fall. It's symbolic. Right, you see what I'm saying? So we definitely loses our color as well. And you notice when the summer come, we come right back to life, goddammit. We all come out, we right back there. And yo, man, this is beautiful what you're doing, brother.
Thank you, my
So
brother.
all energy is constant, you know.
That is an actual fact, so I will change that wording. Like you said, not die, but change form.
Right.
Because we don't die, we change form. And like you were saying, you said it's symbolic. It's actually actual fact that our melanin, we can say, becomes deactivated in comparison to how it is when we are closer to the sun. And this is the state that we have been in for thousands of years now. We've been here. This is where you see the rise of Europeans. Yet we have made that turn. Let's go back. We have made that turn out of this Bronze Age. And we talked about, like you said, when we're away from that sun, we see what happens to the melanin. Yep. Right? Now, if there's another sun out there, you know what's going to happen again as we get closer to this other sun or this other star. So we have made that turn into the Bronze Age. We're right here. So that's like making this turn here. You're going to see us start to bud, start to flower, blossom until we get back here. There's nothing but the law of cycles. So when we know this science, then we're not upset. We not running around here like chickens with our head cut off wondering what we gonna do. We don't even fear anyone anymore because we understand the laws of cycles and we understand that we're coming back. So heading towards a golden age, right? As we get closer to the Sirius star system, we have a changing of the Earth's magnetic field. I'm gonna do one day you invite me back, I'll do a whole presentation on that alone, how the Earth's magnetic field is beginning to change. They have measured it over 100 years and saw it getting weaker and weaker because we were still moving away. We were still moving away from that. But as we begin to move closer, we're going to see the Earth's magnetic field change. We talk about global warming. The Earth is warming up. Now they have what they call whitening of the Earth, where they're putting out clouds, right? They're putting out sulfur clouds to block radiation outward because they know what's going to happen if this Earth get overrun with radiation. They're trying to extend their time. That's why the messenger said they had a time limit, and their time is up. The burning up of the pale fox, we'll go into that. The fall of the devil. If we know there are particular people on this globe that cannot take one sun, what in the hell are they going to do when there's two of them out there? So they are in trouble, my brother. And they know this. So we talk about melanin deficiency. If UV or ultraviolet radiation exceeds what can be blocked by your melanin, then sunburn results. And this is from one sun out there. What's going to happen when there's two? Maybe three. Maybe four. Whole nother thing. We talk about melanin deficiency. So we see why they want to spray sulfur clouds to block that radiation outward. Because if you don't have enough melanin, and it says block, but our melanin, as we discussed in the last presentation I did here, when we talked about black bodies, our melanin actually absorbs the radiation, not just block it, it absorbs it. And a white body, and these are scientific terms, black body and white body, a white body reflects it. Let's see what the Dogon tribe had to say about the pale fox. When the sun and Sirius aligns, they call this Tabatolo, or the reuniting of the twin placentas. For the children of Yorugu, the pale fox, it will be like Sekhmet, raining down a fiery judgment to the point that she becomes intoxicated with the blood of countless corrupted ones. Now, who could this pale fox be that will have a fiery judgment rain down upon them when you have the reuniting of the twin placentas? This is the reuniting of the twin placentas. This is the fiery judgment that will rain down on the pale fox. And you see what the results are from one sun. So you know what's going to happen when there's more than one. So Sirius and the rise of the original people. I did a class called The Real RBG, and we're going to go into that. Sirius and the rise of the original people, because it doesn't signify for us our end. We are melanin dominant people. We absorb this ultraviolet radiation. So it's not our end. Sirius and the rise of the original people. The real RBG. This is the real RBG. The red blood cell, the melanocytes or melanin, and chlorophyll. This is the real RBG right here.
I like that.
And we're going to discuss how this is going to work, particularly in this day and time as we are moving closer and receiving more star radiation in our environment. We have the red blood cell, which contains the hemoglobin. And that hemoglobin, which carries oxygen throughout the body. Nitrogen, I have in parentheses because that nitrogen there is pretty shady, particularly in this environment we're in now. And carbon, surrounded around an iron atom. Now, it's that iron in the hemoglobin within our red blood cell that actually snatches the electrons out of the oxygen. In the oxygen, we have about 8 electrons. In the oxygen atom, we have about 8 electrons. And the iron in our blood, which is magnetic, just like the Earth's core, snatches those electrons out. And those electrons then produce electricity. This is why when we breathe oxygen, we stimulate the brain, we stimulate the body, because we're electrifying the body. I'm going to move down here to chlorophyll, which is made up of pretty much the exact same thing. Hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon, but surrounded around a magnesium atom. And this is the Earth. Not only this is the Earth, but this is what we should be consuming. This is what we should be consuming as original people. And this chlorophyll is what helped the plants to photosynthesize. That's taking the solar radiation, converting it into glucose, into food and energy for the plant. And we do something very similar as melanin dominant people, which is our melanin, which is carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Our melanin does what is called photovoltaics, where just like the plant, we take the sunlight and convert it into electricity. So we take sunlight and convert it into electricity. And if you can see, in an age where we're going to have much more star radiation, solar radiation, and sunlight from 2 suns, maybe 3, maybe 4, depending on how you see the star system, we then receive this radiation, produce a photovoltaic effect, which is converting that radiation into electrical current, into electricity. When we understand the importance of electricity in the body's organs run on electricity. Dr. Sebi was brilliant in showing us that we are an electric people. The brain, the central nervous system, the heart, the cells all run on electricity. The cells itself contain an electromagnetic field, as do the whole body. So as neurons are firing and sending signals and receiving signals, that's all electricity. Here you have the brain, the spinal cord, the brain stem, the spinal cord, sending information throughout the body receiving it. So we're talking about cellular communication, intercellular communication, where the cells communicate with one another, and cellular regeneration. So electricity is the key to us remaining in this physical body forever. There is some science that teaches, and just by studying the body, you'll come up with this, I don't want to say theory or hypothesis, but I'll use those words for lack of a better term. You'll come up with the hypothesis yourself that the body is not designed to decay or die. It will completely renew itself perpetually once we are in the right and correct environment and do the right and correct things. And electricity is key. And as we receive more solar radiation in our environment and we turn that solar radiation into electricity, we'll see our brain, our organs, our entire body begin to operate at a much higher and superior level. The ability to rapidly heal and regenerate organs. I heard Jewel Pookrum once talk about and teach how we have the ability to regenerate organs. And a lot of people, you know, they got upset about that. They thought maybe she was getting a little spooky. But when we understand basic biology, it's not far-fetched. Maybe the environment we've been living in, maybe what we have been doing in this said environment that we've been living in. But as we move closer towards, again, another star system and radiation is filling the earth and we're receiving that electricity as melanin-dominant people, then not only is it likely, but it is quite practical that we will begin to then regenerate organs. Melanin, the connection. Melanin is a semiconductor. Some teach a superconductor, but at best they give us semiconductor, which I'll accept, because all you need is a semiconductor to produce a photovoltaic effect. So when we understand these energies out in the universe, this radiation, this electricity, as a semiconductor, we have the ability to take that and then convert it into current, into direct current, electrical current. And when you understand the power and the importance of the connection between the black man and the black woman, or the melanin dominant black man, yes, and the melanin dominant black woman, that is pure electricity. Right. So when we making love the right way, the way that we supposed to be doing, and we're not worried about diseases, and we're not dealing with condoms, which are rubber, and rubbers are what? It is not a conductor of electricity. So every time we throw in that rubber, we are blocking the electrical current. That's the same with us wearing all these sneakers now. So we got to keep that in mind. With all, you know, we got to come up with a better way.
This is why a lot of our ancestors wore barefoot to the ground.
Right.
They wanted to feel that electricity.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? They wanted the currents to go through their body.
Go through their body.
One with the earth.
That's right. So we got to get barefoot again. And we got to start producing shoes, because we understand the environment we live in. We have to start producing shoes that conduct electricity, that's not blocking that electrical current. So as you have the black man and the black woman, or the melanin dominant man and the melanin dominant woman, when they come together, that is pure electricity. And that's why we are able to bring supreme beings to this planet. I know this picture's pretty familiar, but let's go into electromagnetism for a minute. As you see, you have the male and the female holding up the Ankh. And in the book, the Ankh, the African origin of electromagnetism, they talk about how this Ankh, not only did it symbolize, you know, the male and female, the shaft and the womb, which is actual fact, but it also was a conductor of electricity. So when you understand the male component, the male is the electro, or the electric, and the female is the magnetic. Now, we are both electromagnetic. We contain both. But electro is male and magnetic is female. So when you put the two of them together, you have your universe. You have the electromagnetic universe. That's the same as the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, right? The conscious mind would be that electric mind, those thoughts that you send out. The magnetic mind will be that womb. A subconscious mind will be that womb that then takes those thoughts and then produce life. That's why we cannot go to sleep. We have to stand up and protect our black woman. The same way we have to stand up and protect our subconscious mind. We can't just let anybody impregnate our black women the same way we can't just let anybody impregnate our subconscious mind. And that's what advertising agents strive to do on a regular basis. They strive to catch your conscious mind asleep They strive to catch the black man asleep so they can impregnate your subconscious mind and sell you all types of foolishness and have you doing all types of foolishness. That's why it's very important to bring the black family back together and not leave our black woman holding down the fort as she has been doing for so many years because of the disappearance of the black man. We got to step back in position and take care of our black woman, because when we add the electro with the magnetic, that produces the electromagnetic universe, and there you have the sun, the moon, and the stars, and you will see the rise of the black family. We are that sun, moon, stars. We came before it, and we are the physical embodiment of it. It's all a cycle. It goes around. We start as that black energy, what you can call cosmic melanin or dark energy, dark matter, whatever words you want to use. We start as that black mind, that infinite intelligence, that force. We produce sun and stars and planets and moons, and then we produce physical bodies, but we are all that same thing in different forms. And this is how we produce superhumans. So everything that we see that they write about in the comic books, we see Marvel, and they got the Avengers and all these different attributes that they attribute to some comic book hero. We have the biological ability to reach. Now, this environment has been thoroughly polluted. It's thoroughly toxic, and we just left and are leaving a dark age, the Iron Age. So naturally, we're not going to be at our fullest capability. We're naturally not going to have the fullest access to the powers of our true being. But as we continue to move closer and closer to the twin placentas, as this environment is overrun with more star radiation and the Earth's magnetic field gets stronger and stronger, you will see an increase in mental ability, including psychic ability, telekinesis. Some of us are doing these today on very small levels and have been doing this all throughout the Dark Ages. So you can imagine what's going to happen when our thoughts and our brain is then charged with much more electricity. Telekinesis, which is moving objects with the power of your mind. Creativity, we'll be able to take those electrical thoughts and be able to attract things into our reality almost instantaneously. Physical abilities, as far as vision, hearing, movement. I was taught that there was times where we didn't need telescopes and microscopes, let alone glasses, that our vision, we can look. Our ancestors knew of all these different cosmos. Yeah, some of it was passed down through tradition, but we were taught that we were able to look directly into the cosmos at a particular time and see directly to these different constellations and stars and planets without telescopes. That our hearing was so powerful and so strong that we can hear what we could barely hear today, that we need stethoscopes for. And our movement. When we look at these superheroes and they show them flying through the air. Now, when we saw Michael Jordan in 1988, right? This was in 1988, directly in the middle of the Iron Age. Well, maybe not directly in the middle of the Iron Age, but we were in it. The Iron Age, Dark Age, damn near furthest away from Sirius as we can be, and you see a melanin-dominant brother flying from the free throw line, even if it's but a split second. It was longer than a split second, but even if it's just a split second, to show you how we move. When you see these ball players able to fly through the air, dunk backwards, do 360s. Our extraordinary athletic ability as melanin-dominant people. When you see the marathon and damn near a Kenyan or some African brother wins it damn near every year. So when you see the extraordinary dominance or athletic dominance of the melanin-dominant individual, then you can understand what's going to happen when we receive more sunlight, more solar radiation, and then activate that melanin like the brother was talking about. That will have a decreased dependency on phones, telescopes, microscopes, stethoscopes, food, and sleep. We'll go into that. Now, when we talk about telephones, I'm sure all of us can think of a time when you were thinking of someone and then they just called you or reached out to you almost out of the blue.
Yep. You could be thinking of a song and next thing you know, you hear the song playing.
That's right.
See? Another thing, too, to show you the frequency and the connection is,
right.
You could be, let me say this right quick. Right. Another thing to show you the connection that we have with each other is that you could be right over there yawning. And I wouldn't yawn until I see you yawn or I feel you yawn. The next thing, have you ever noticed that? Yeah. You yawn right behind it. We yawn together. And we be like, oh, shit. And this happens all the time. Right. You see, you could be thinking of a song in your head. Next thing you know, you hear the song playing. Or you could be thinking of a brother next to you. Oh, there you go right there. I was just thinking about you. Right. Or you be ready to call somebody. Next thing you know, they calling you. You be like, yo, brother, I had the phone in my hand. That's right. That's the connection right there.
That's right.
Deep on that, what you were saying.
That is a direct connection. And I'm a sidebar for a minute when you was talking about the yawning. That's why what we watch, what we listen to, the visions are so important because they have what we call mirror neurons. We have certain neurons that fire when we look at something being done. They fire as if we were doing it ourselves. So if I watch you yawning, I have certain neurons in my brain, I will fire as if I'm yawning myself, which will then influence me to yawn. So that's the importance of what we watch on that idiot box, what we allow our children to watch, the images and the pictures that we show each other, obviously the music that we listen to and the words that we speak to one another. And those neurons fire off of what? Electricity. So those mirror neurons are only going to get stronger. So like you were saying, and as I was saying, you could be thinking of someone and they just reach out to you. Well, and this happens all the time. This is nothing new to us. These things are not coincidences. We are literally reaching out and touching someone without a wire, without a phone, without a cell phone or a port or whatever it is that they need. So as we then move closer and receive more of this electrical radiation and convert it into electrical current, you will see us have a greater power of these psychic and telekinetic abilities, how we'll be able to reach out and send messages and receive messages without the use of telephones and all these other things. And then we talk about food. I've always wondered, why is it that the plant can take the sunlight, convert it into glucose and use it as energy or as food? And I often wondered if we could do the same thing. Well, upon studying photovoltaics and the photovoltaic effect, and we realized that it is a semiconductor. Once I put two and two together, and I said melanin is at least a semiconductor. And if it converts solar radiation into direct current, and that's why they're building technologies. That's why they're using aborted baby fetuses to now build solar cells and build their new technologies. So if we can then convert that sunlight into direct current, then naturally we should be able to use it as energy, as a form of food. So then the question becomes, as we move towards the golden age, we don't have to wait till we're all the way in the golden age, but we're now heading toward the golden age. Will food be necessary? Will sleep be necessary? But it's necessary for now. So we're going to go into some of the food. Because as the earth heats up like a fever, if you have a body filled with yeast, if you have a body filled with fungus, if you have a body filled with bacteria, parasites, you will die too. You will be destroyed from the inside out. Just like the European himself, who does not have the melanin to absorb and modulate this radiation, you will die as well. So I have a little chart here called lost soul food versus soul food. I'm just going to this word soul for a minute, because they always keep us off balance, okay? When you study soul, or the definition to soul, is something to the effect of the spirit that contains the energy to sustain the body. And when you know spirit only means breath, we understand the breath that gives life to our body is oxygen. What's in the oxygen is electricity, or the electron. That's why we breathe oxygen in the first place. So again, we are talking about electricity. That is ultimately what our soul is. So then when you have soul and you see that the Latin version of the word sun is soul, and phonetically soul and soul is the same, that is a direct connection. They try to keep us off balance with these words, but yet they put it in plain view. If you want to hide something from a Negro, put it in the book. So let's go from the lost soul food to the soul food chart. I call this lost soul food because this is food that does not contain the electricity that we need to sustain our body at this day and time. It does not contain the sunlight that we need to sustain our body at this day and time. So we go into dead animal flesh. Anything that's dead. I mean, that should be a no-brainer at this day and time. But I know a lot of our people, we're still on this dead flesh. I call some brother poison animal eaters. They got very upset, but it's time to wake up. Dead animal flesh versus living plant food. I showed you the chlorophyll, how it's made up nearly the exact same way as our red blood cells and extremely close to our melanin itself. So you have dead animal flesh versus living plant food, which is soul food, because those plants do what? They receive sunlight as their food. Dead animals or animals just mainly eat other animals, or they eat living plants themselves. So either way, they're either getting their energy from other animals that got it from other animals that got it from living plants, or they're getting it from living plants themselves. So we're eating a dead carcass that we cannot digest, that's causing all types of harm and poison in our body just to get to the living plant food and the sunlight that we should be going to directly to get. Then we have processed food versus oxygen, water rich food, fruit. Now, processed food, we really idealistically should not be eating anything that comes out of a package. Anything that comes out of a box, anything that comes out of a container, anything that's packaged, we should not be eating. Anything that comes out of a can, we definitely shouldn't be eating. A can is worse than some of them other packages that they put them in. But anything packaged or processed in general, what we should be getting should come right from nature. We can't pick it, pull it, and normally nature gives it up itself. So the fruit just drop off the tree sometimes. And processed food contains no oxygen, no water. Or I'll say very little, where you can say no oxygen, no water. So we want living plant food. We want oxygen, water, rich food like fruit. Anything packaged, again, nutritionally deficient. Contains no nutrients in it. Because once it's processed is like digestion. Once you put the food in a process, I'm not talking about the food processors that you buy at home that has its, cons too, but not to the extent that we talk about food being processed in a factory. Once food that's being processed in a factory, it loses whatever nutritional value it had, and what comes out of that food is actually the waste. So it's like the food going through your body, and the shit that comes out is what's then being packaged and sold on the market, and it's nutritionally deficient. So we want mineral rich food like vegetables. Okay? So we have our fruit with oxygen, water, rich fruit. Minerally rich vegetables help to build back tissues, help to build back bones, help to build back the body. Then you have your overly cooked or fried foods. I just had to throw fried foods up there. I think a lot of people are hip to the game on the fried foods this damn time, but overly cooked in general. All right? You want everything as raw as possible, or at least a majority of your meal raw or lightly steamed. So you have your raw salads, or you have your lightly steamed vegetables. Of course, your raw fruit. But anything overly cooked, we do not want. It does not contain the soul that we need. So this is the real soul food. And that other stuff that they were selling us, those ham hocks and macaroni and cheese and fat backs and collard greens that was cooked to be damned, that was lost soul food because it lost its sunlight, it lost its oxygen, it lost its water, and you will lose yourself eating that garbage. They want to give you something to fight the fever, but they don't want to tell you what you should be fighting is the temptation to do some of the things that we do to cause the fever in the first place. The fever is the intelligence of the body removing toxins, and it has to heat up to remove the toxins. So as the earth heats up, if our body is filled with yeast, fungus, bacteria, and parasites, we will die and be destroyed as well. So it's important to know what time we are in and what must be done at this time and how we can prepare in this day and time as we move into the future. Now let's see what Kemet taught about Sirius and the Sirius star system. We have Osiris, who was the black man, who was represented in Kemet as Orion's belt. Even the king's chamber and the Great Pyramid of Giza was aligned with Orion's belt in the south shaft. So you have Osiris. Then you have Set, which they call the god of the underworld. I call him personally, from our lessons and our teachings, I call him Yakub. Yakub was an original man. He was the maker of the devil. So he was the man who grafted the European into being on this planet. Okay? So the European being a mutated form or a grafted form of the original man. And our lessons, we teach about a man named Yakub, which is an idea and a symbol.
This one over here is Set?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because you know that right there, that's Ampu.
Okay.
That's the god of the underworld.
Okay. So, thank you. Yeah. So what I want to show you is this brother who, again, I refer to as Yakub, but as Set, kills, and you said that's Apu?
Ampu.
Ampu? Okay. Well, we're going to use that image as Set for the day, right? And as one of the stories tell you, because this story is told in different versions, Set kills Osiris, right? Chops his body up in many pieces.
14.
Okay. Chops his body up in 14 pieces. Then we have Isis, who is the black woman, who is represented as the Sirius star system, and even in the queen's chamber of the Great Pyramid of Giza, is aligned with the Sirius star system in the south shaft. It says Isis then blows the breath of life back into Osiris, putting the pieces of his body back together again.
Say Osset. Osset is the proper name. Isis is the Greek name.
Okay.
Osiris is the Greek name. Asar.
Asar.
Right.
Thank you, my brother.
But we know what you're saying.
Right, right. We're showing you the symbolism.
Those are the Greek names right there.
Okay.
That's what the Greeks call them.
Okay. So Asar and a Set.
See that right there?
I'll adjust that.
See that right there?
Right. That's space right there. I'm going to adjust that for the next presentation.
Asar.
Yes, sir. So,
The Greeks call Osiris.
okay. So Osiris and Isis, or Asar and a Set,
Right.
gave birth to Heru.
Correct.
Right? Gave birth.
Or Heru.
Heru.
Yeah.
Gave birth to Heru.
Right. So we now know where they get the story of the Christ and sitting on an
Right.
and all that.
That's right.
See where it comes from.
That's right.
No, I got it right here too. Right there. See it?
Okay. That's what it is.
So we know where it all comes from.
That's beautiful. So here we go. Let's do a little rundown.
Right.
We have Osiris, or Asar, that's represented as Orion's belt, right? Which is the black man. That's God. Then we have Set, who I call Yakub, who is responsible for the grafting of the devil, the white man, the European, and he would represent the Dark Age. He would represent the Iron Age and white supremacy, because that's what you have in the Iron Age or the Dark Age. You have white supremacy. And then we have Isis, and Set chopping up Osiris's or Asar's body in many pieces refers to black people being divided. Because as you see, we are divided. And if you put those 14 pieces back together, see, in our supreme mathematics, that's knowledge and culture. When you put that knowledge and culture together, that borns power. So when we come together as a people, that's where our power is. So you have Osiris or Asar, the black man. You have Set, which represents the Iron and Dark Age, white supremacy. And then you have Isis or Set, which is represented as the Sirius star system and the black woman. Now, Isis or Set, blowing the breath of life back into Osiris or Asar, refers to the solar star radiation that will fill the Earth's atmosphere as we get closer to the Sirius star system, thus being absorbed by melanin-dominant solar people, giving birth to Heru, which refers to the pineal gland. Because if you look at what they call the eye of Heru.
Now, see, you got Heru right.
Right.
Because I'm surprised they didn't give it to you in Greek, where they would say,
I saw that, but I moved on from that. The reason why I chose the name Osiris and Isis for this particular presentation is because when they're studying astronomy and Western science, and we know most of our people, we're under this Western regime right now.
I use it too.
Right.
Yeah, but when I do it where I let them know, I explain it to them.
Right.
You see, Set, that's what they talking about. That's because that's the original name.
Right.
I give it to them the same way you do, and I say Isis.
Right.
That's most of the, what they are familiar with.
Right.
Coming up into the school system.
Absolutely.
So I correct them as we go on. So you're right.
As you go along. So, again, let's take it back here. Isis or Set, blowing the breath of life back into Osiris or Asar, refers to the solar star radiation. Because remember, breath contains the electricity.
Right.
Solar star radiation that will fill the Earth's atmosphere as we get closer to the Sirius star system, thus being absorbed by melanin-dominant or solar people, giving birth to Heru, which is the pineal gland. And if you look at the eye of Heru and you study the brain, you will see it is almost an exact replica of the brain and the pineal gland.
Oh, man. Excellent.
That's where your third eye is. So we talk about electromagnetic coupling, right? That's when we take one form of energy and turn it to another form. So as we receive light through the eyes, we have two eyes. Here on the face, as we receive light through the eyes, we also have a third eye, which is the pineal gland. So that light, then we talk about pineal gland activation. There's a lot of information now about activating your pineal gland. Now, you have some people on the planet that has a calcified pineal gland. Like Europeans, their pineal gland is calcified, which means it's hard by nature. Our pineal gland is not calcified, but they're giving us substances that are calcifying the pineal gland, such as the fluoride that they put in the water or the fluoride that's in the toothpaste. So get fluoride-free toothpaste. Watch that water that you're drinking, because that's one of the things that calcify the pineal gland. So when we talk about pineal gland activation, we are talking about ascension. Ascension. And I just used that picture because it just expressed exactly what I wanted to say. The truth rebel, ascension. So we as original melanin dominant individuals, we are in a good position because we are in tune with this universe. We are the universe. The universe came from us. The universe is us, and we are the universe. 360 degrees. So we have nothing to worry about as a people. All we have to do is prepare and do the right thing on a day-to-day basis, and the game is over. We are going to rise just as our ancestors predicted, just as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught that original people will rise, just like that's in all the scriptures, all the so-called holy books of the rise of the Messiah. That is us. That is the original black man and the original black woman. And we are now at a position where we are moving toward another star system, which we call Sirius or Sigitolo, which our Dogon tribe ancestors called Sigitolo, which is Sirius A, and Potolo, which is Sirius B, and Imyatolo, which is Sirius C. And as we move closer and closer, you will see the rising of consciousness, because thoughts, again, are electrical impulses in the brain. Neurons fire off of electricity. So as there's more radiation in the atmosphere, and we're converting that radiation into direct current of electricity, you will see our consciousness rise. You will see us becoming more physically superior than we have ever been. You will see the intelligence grow as the original people of the planet Earth, and you will see anyone against us or anyone melanin deficient will then fall. They will fall due to disease. They will fall due to not being in tune with this universe, because they are not one with this universe. They are a mutated form, or a fungus that will then, or a bacteria, or a parasite that will then be wiped out as the earth continues to heat up. So what we must do in this day and time is prepare and make sure that we are in tune, eating the right things, thinking the right thoughts, projecting the right images into our minds, and unifying as a people as is predicted that we will do, so we will not be left behind and taken off this earth with the devil. That's the end of my presentation, brother.
Yes.